forbearing Mosley's perhaps intervention. We'll start our journey today with again the classic Red Bull energy drink. Here we are. Today's caffeine related product here. And again, this is a half size can. Mosley's going to be in the way because he's not getting his attention now. So for a half size can, 80 milligrams of caffeine, 1,000 milligrams of taurine, 20 milligrams of niacin, 5 milligrams of pantothenic acid. B6 is 5 milligrams, B12 is 5 micrograms. And of course, this cat is going to be himself. Be all over the place. Chill. He's all over my XLR interface right now. We're gonna pour this, bud. We're gonna have to kick you off. He's starting to get frisky about his image in the preview. All right, buddy. You're gonna go? Okay, he's gonna go. All right, classic Mosley. Classic Mosley. All right, so yeah, we're gonna do this somewhat, not exactly like whiskey, but somewhat like whiskey. 25 aroma, 25 for palate, 25 for finish, 10 for texture, and 15 for my personal experience, my personal subjective opinion. And again, we're gonna use our Glencairn Copita. Should I spin these? We can spin them. Oh, come on. Boom. Alright. There you go. Here's our... it actually looks much darker and more carbonated today. Maybe this is a better can. I don't know. I did pour a little bit more, though, because I feel like when you taste these things, you can't, like, taste them as well with a small sip. And partially it's because the carbonation really interferes with your ability to taste it. But at the same time, it's almost like alcohol. Alcohol somewhat interferes with your ability to taste things sometimes, too. You might have to just learn how to appreciate these carbonated and caffeinated beverages in a different way. Yeah, we don't want to like kill these forever, so we're gonna do these a little bit shorter, but and again, this is kind of like similar to what I got yesterday. There's like that apple juice, mango juice, and like there's also like kind of a powdered sugar kind of sweetness on it. So I haven't done too much olfactory analysis of these beverages, but smelling like a couple of things seems pretty good. I don't know about you, but we'll have to see how that progresses. Like if this was a whiskey, I'd probably give it like a 13 or like a 12. So maybe I'll just give it that. Does that make sense? Is this just a normal flavor? This is the Buck Standard Red Bull. All right. Buck Standard Red Bull on the palate. Cheers. TikTok's mad because I used the word whiskey a couple times. Even though I'm not drinking whiskey, I said the word whiskey. So now TikTok put me in the restricted section. Fucking TikTok. How dare I? I know. They're very picky. As soon as you talk about alcohol, it's straight to the restricted section, which is fine, like, because that means I'm not going to get kids in here. But it's just interesting that they have, like, some mechanism that listens to the audio and decides, oh, this is a restricted topic. That or I got reported, but I can't see how I got reported for drinking Red Bull. Okay, hold on. I got to fix something with my little bit of a spreadsheet here. But again, the palate to me is like, again, really similar to the nose. There's there is a kind of like a mango and apple juice and like a bit of a like artificial sweetness. Like a powdered sugar sweetness. And the finish is like nothing. It's like a non-finish. Well, there's maybe like a slight apple juicy taste to the finish. It's not quite nothing. So, Mosey's coming back up here to cause problems. If you're talking about this like it was a whiskey, maybe we'll just rate this slightly like it was a whiskey, but I think the scores are going to be really low. If this was a whiskey, we would say this nose, again, has a couple of notes. Intensity's not bad. But it's not terribly complex. But there's a couple of notes. So we're going to kick you off for a little bit, Mosley, because you're just going to cause a ruckus. And we kind of just want to get this jotted down here. We would call this like 13. I think 13 out of 25. All right, so let's focus on the palate. I imagine like palate scores might actually be pretty good because we're not like having like something that's like some percentage alcohol and like a small percentage flavor and then like watered down. It's kind of like more it's kind of like more like the whole thing is like water and flavor, right? So the intensities of flavors is a lot better than you typically get on whiskeys. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much more energy do I have? I don't know. To be honest, these things at my level of consumption, it just maintains a baseline, you know? It's like you're tired if you don't have it. You don't really, you know, you just need some of that to keep yourself going. So there's a couple of notes on the palate, but they're not terribly complex. But again, the flavor impact is very strong. because of course it is highly concentrated sugar and flavor. I call a palette like 17. Now, the major departures on the finish. So, the way I have the finish scaled, it's kind of like if it's like really disgusting, then it scores low. If it doesn't taste like anything, it scores in the middle. And if it actively tastes good, then it scores on the upper side. That's kind of the way I wrote the finish. So, there's no chemical aftertaste with this. It's not a sugar-free product, which I feel like there's going to be some amount of a bane with the sugar-free products. They'll have some amount of like chemical aftertaste that I will detect. I definitely detected it on the sugar-free Red Bull. When you swallow, slight like apple juicy note. Maybe a little bit pear, maybe a little bit mango. I guess reasonable. Doesn't last for any length of time. We would call this like short. A short finish. We'll give it 16. All right. So I'm going to talk about texture, which again, this is a little different too. It has something to do with carbonation, but not all of these beverages are going to be carbonated, so it's not exclusively based on carbonation. But if the carbonation is like way too weak, or the like the general texture of, I was about to say the spirit of the beverage is like sticky, like in an unpleasant way, which it may be if it's highly sugared. But that's kind of like on the low end. So we kind of want like an expected unintrusive amount of carbonation, and for it to be like a pretty good mouthfeel. Again, mouthfeel is still relevant, and carbonation does contribute to mouthfeel. So with this one, I feel like there's an accurate amount of carbonation. It's pretty good on carbonation. It's not too overcarbed. It's a reasonable amount of carbonation. The problem is, it is a little sticky. Like, kind of in the way that, like, after you swallow it, you feel like you still feel it in your mouth. You know what I mean? To me, that's kind of like a negative aspect. And I feel like that's going to be common for some of these highly sugared ones. Because you don't want this like feeling in your mouth that like you got like crap coating your teeth. You know, whether it's there or not. But the fact that I can feel it means it probably is. So carbonation's good. Mouthfeel's pretty good, except for like the fact that it's a little bit like sticky leftover residue, which in a whiskey would actually be like kind of a positive thing, but for something like this, I would consider it a negative. That being said, it's not hollow. Sometimes with those like sugar-free drinks, you feel like the liquid is actually very hollow, like there's no substance to it, and that's also not great. So there's quite a good amount of substance to this. The problem is it's just like slightly oversweet to the point where it feels sticky and cloying on the after you swallowed it. So we're just gonna put this down the middle. We'll call it a 5 out of 10. And then out of 15 for my personal subjective opinion of this beverage. Which again, I have a somewhat level of bias because this is the one that up until this point I would drink on a regular basis because it's half size is convenient. You can do it like twice a day at half size rather than doing a full size can, which is like maybe too much at one time and then you don't have anything else later and it crash and not good. And also I feel like the flavor is like reasonable and the ingredients are fairly premium. That being said, I don't want to rate it on like ingredients and like size of the can. We're just going to rate it purely on the experience we have drinking it. Which I think like it's pretty like standard. Like it tastes pretty good. But it's like oversweet in terms of like it's very sticky. You don't taste any like unpleasantness. But the flavor is not like, oh, so good. It's kind of just like fine, you know? You expect if you go to the store and get an energy drink to get this kind of concoction of like oversweetened, not too bad tasting drink. So in that way, I kind of feel like this is almost like a benchmark. If it tastes worse than this, that's bad, but it probably should taste better than this too. So in that way, let's just put it straight down the middle and we'll call it 7. We'll call it a 7 out of 15. A distinct beverage, if you will. So if we put these numbers together, we got 13 and 17 and 16 and 5 and 7 is 58. 58 out of 100. And we would call this good. It's good. You know what? It's good. It's a good drink. It's good.